Mike, do you want to go ahead and read that variance letter into the record, please?
Sure. So this variance is addressed to Jill Hunsaker Ryan, Executive Director, Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, 4300 Cherry Creek South Drive, Denver, Colorado 80246, in reference to a variance request for Executive Order D 2020-044 and CDPHE Order 20-28. Dear Director Ryan, Los Animas and Huerfano counties are respectfully requesting a variance from the provisions of Governor Polis's Executive Order D 2020-044 Safer at Home and CDPHE Order 20-28. A variance, as outlined in CDPHE Order 20-28, will allow our counties to implement their own reopening plans for restaurants, CDPHE Order 2.A.1, places of worship, CDPH Order 2.2b, and Appendix F.5, fitness centers, CDPHE Order of 2.A.4, and recreation, CDPHE Order 1.H, restoring the balance between community health and our economy in a manner and time frame that best meets the needs of our communities. Los Animas County's first positive case of COVID-19 was reported on April 2nd, 2020, and Huerfano County's first positive was reported on March 23rd, 2020. To date, the Los Animas County has only had 5 positive cases, 2% of all tests conducted, and Huerfano County has only had 3 positive cases, 7% of all tests conducted. In Los Animas County, only 2 cases needed hospitalization, and in Huerfano, only 2 cases needed hospitalization. All but 1 has been discharged. We believe it is appropriate to loosen restrictions in ways that are slightly different than what has been outlined in the Safer at Home orders. Our local public health agency will still regulate social behaviors, events, types of businesses that may reopen, and travel into and around each county to control disease transmission. Additionally, hospital capacity in our counties is currently adequate to address COVID-19 cases as well as other medical issues in our regional service area. Please see attached letter from Mount San Rafael Hospital and Spanish Peaks Regional Health Center. Our counties will continue to test parties that have had possible exposure to a person with COVID-19 and or are displaying symptoms of the virus. We will continue to do contact tracing for every positive, and positive parties will be required to quarantine for a minimum of 14 days. The Health Department employee currently monitors all positive cases by checking in with the party at least twice a day during the quarantine and will continue to do so. Our Public Health Director has concerns with our Health Department's ability to meet the requirements for a request for a variance, and specifically the ability to have enough staff and resources to isolate and quarantine, mass test, enforce restrictions, and maintain safety with adequate PPE. However, these concerns are not due to the total number of cases in our county, but due to the lack of appropriate and necessary resources that need to be obtained from the state. We feel that our request should not be denied, solely based on the fact that our small communities are not being provided the necessary and continually requested resources. The local health department endorses the proposed alternative restrictions, which are attached as A, B, C, and D, provided resources are available. The determination on whether the proposed alternative restrictions are working will be based on 1, keeping the proportion of positive tests to less than 10% of overall tests conducted, and 2, staying below the threshold of less than 3 COVID-19 hospitalizations in each county. If respective numbers for either of these measures exceeds the stated limit, actions will be taken to increase physical distancing practices in our counties, and it may be necessary to reissue local stay-at-home orders vital that everyone participate in this effort. Our residents, and specifically our small business owners, have significantly suffered during stay-at-home and recent safer-at-home orders. They deserve the opportunity to be involved in the implementation of the local reopening plan and to be able to implement as soon as it is safe to do so. Thank you for considering our request for a variance from sections of the state order. And just as a reference, A is for restaurants, B is for places of worship, C is for fitness facilities, and D is for recreation. And signature lines are the Los Angeles County Commissioners, the Huerfano County Commissioners, the local public health and hospitals, the City of Trinidad, and the City of Walsenburg.
Does anyone on council have any questions concerning the variance request?
I have a question, Mayor.
Go ahead.
So I noticed, like in the restaurant requirements, they're saying 30%. If we get this variance, they can allow 30% of their clientele back into the restaurant. My question is, if we get granted this variance, will we be able to go back and adjust those figures if need be? Because 30% for a restaurant seems to be low. I'm just curious.
Well, that would be a question that we probably would have to, bring to the health department to see what they say about that. Mr. Goodall.
Yeah, I think it's 30% of what the fire marshal's capacity for the rest.
It does say here, no, that's right. Let me see if I'm reading it here. It says limit number of customers to 30% of normal seating capacity.
Right.
What's strange about that is I know that other people that I've heard that had variances, and I think they've even talked up to 50%, so I'm not sure why we placed it at 30%, so I don't know why.
I just wonder if we have an opportunity to change it after if conditions allow.
Mike, we might ought to go ahead and ask the health department and see what their thoughts are, the emergency manager, to see what they say.
I can, Mayor, and I don't want to speak for them, but I think the 30% is where they feel comfortable right now with their staffing and everything, and I believe that it could be, upped as testing and everything, and they monitor situation for at least 14 days to see if there's any changes. But again, I don't want to speak for them, but I think that's the case, and I will check.
Okay. Any other questions? I just wanted to make one comment. This morning, both Mr. Valentine and I listened in to the meeting of the Los Angeles County where they covered it, and I did find something that I brought up that they should try to amend, where it says under restaurants. Actually, there was a couple of different ones. One was the bars to remain closed, including those are part of a restaurant. I asked them to amend that because there was something that came out this morning that was forwarded to us. That they were saying that that bars can sell liquor if it is part of a restaurant. Now, the bars itself, I think, is a different thing, but if they cannot sit at a bar, but I think that liquor can be served to people that are part of that 30% that are able to be seated. So I think that I asked them to talk, and so they were going to generalize that. I'm not sure what they finally did with that, but I did bring that up. The other item is that under fitness facilities, it talks about all members and staff must practice good hygiene, either hand washing or sanitizer, but it doesn't say who is to provide the sanitizer. And in a couple of other ones, they talked about where the sanitizer was provided by the by the restaurant or whoever was, so I just asked him that question, and I don't know if they put that in there or not, that sanitizer should be provided by the business so that everybody could have sanitizer available to them as needed. Any other questions?
Mayor,
Yes.
I noticed in our CML circular that there was some information about the Liquor Enforcement Division creating an emergency rule that would allow restaurants to serve alcohol if they have an on-premise license on sidewalks, streets, parking lots, so they would be able to expand their footprint. But the county would have to obtain an ordinance to go in addition with that. So I don't know if that's something we should be asking for now, if that's an interest in local licensees.
I don't know if the county would have anything to do, because we are the licensing authority. Audra, would you have a comment on that? Because as a licensing authority, that would be something I believe that we would have to authorize, correct, Audra?
Mayor, that's correct. We have, currently our sidewalk cafe requirements disallow alcohol on our sidewalks, so we would have to amend that. But then, if council chose to allow it, the licensee would have to apply for a temporary modification of premises to be able to serve out in front of their business, and it has to be contiguous with their property. So they'd be limited even in that respect to the number of tables that they would be able to have out there. It may still be of interest to some licensees, but I don't know how much. And we would require insurance, so they would have an additional expense for that.
I think what the article was saying, I think what it was trying to communicate, I may have misread it, is that the current safer at home rules would not allow for it. So a county public health department would have to, first of all, that's the first hurdle, and then secondarily probably would be the issues about the footprint for the local license. But I just put that out there because I'd read that, and I know that there's some interest locally in licensees in getting a bigger footprint so they can serve food and alcohol.
I've listened to Governor Polis a couple of times, once last week and once yesterday, and he was talking about that specifically. And he talked about waiving, some of these procedures. So I think that's something that maybe we need to check into to see what procedures can be waived for the liquor license, for the liquor distribution or sales of liquor for these restaurants. So I think that that's something that we need to look into. Any other comments? Call the vote, please.
Goodall,
Yes.
Rado,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
Ogletree,
Yes.
Drew,
Yes.
Williamson,
Yes.
Ringo.
Yes. On to item 8F, accepting the resignation from City Council from Councilman Anthony Matei. I'll entertain a motion. Entertain a motion. Okay. Okay. Audra, would you please read his resignation into the record, please?
Okay. May 14th, 2020, Phil Rico, Mayor, Mike Valentine, City Manager, left down, City Attorney. Yours, published free. General of the South and in Hampton. I always thought, I have to mute the author of this, just a moment, please. Okay. I always thought May 19th was a long time away, much as a child dreads the time he must wait before the next Christmas. But in the words of Macbeth, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow has pressed in its petty pace toward the last syllable of recorded time. And now I find that the next regular council meeting is 5 days away. Consequently, I'm sending this letter to you to announce that I will be moving to Denver on May 26th. Given this change in residency, I will resign my position on City Council effective at the May 19th regular meeting. I know this is not a surprise, and as directed by Councilor Downs, I am making it formal and official with this letter. It has been a remarkable experience for me to serve in this capacity. I humbly thank the citizens of Trinidad for their vote of confidence in the 2 municipal elections that placed me on council. I thank the many colleagues with whom I have served on council for their guidance, support, and, quite frankly, their tolerance of me. I will always cherish the relationship I was happy to have with staff and all the city's employees who commit themselves daily to Trinidad's success. I had the privilege of many opportunities to work with outside groups, federal agencies, and individuals in the discharge of my official duties. It would be foolish to try to name them, but suffice it to say, collaborative effort was always beneficial to Trinidad. On a personal note, serving on council gave me the sometimes painful opportunity to learn and broaden my horizons. I remember the first few meetings I attended in an official capacity. In retrospect, I was unsure of myself and chose to sit and observe like a cow looking at a new gate on the corral. As the record will reflect, I was occasionally wrong in some of the decisions I made, but I was never unsure of my position or opinion. This experience taught me so many things about myself, and I now consider myself to be better because of it. Discussing this resignation with a close friend, I used my favorite analogy to make a point. I said, put your hand in a bucket of water and swish it around. Now give the water time to settle and remove your hand. Look to see how big of a hole you left. My point is that no one is irreplaceable. As an impressionable 5th grader, I first learned lessons as I watched Lyndon Johnson being sworn in as the 36th President of the United States on a plane trip to Washington, D.C. after the Kennedy assassination in Dallas. My friend, bless her heart, was quick to add this comment. Yes, that is true. There is no hole left in the water. But for the time your hand was in the bucket, the level of the water was raised. I leave tonight hoping that history will demonstrate that my presence and participation helped the level of Trinidad city governance to rise to new levels during the time I was contributing. Thanks for the opportunity to serve. Respectfully, Anthony Matei.
Mr. Downs, I think that Councilman Matei had wanted you to say something, or?
Well, Mayor, I appreciate your calling on me, and I have so many things that I would like to say, but I wanted to keep this brief, and I wanted to just kind of be direct and to the point. So, if you would all indulge me for just a moment, please. Councilman Matei, the way I see it, the city of Trinidad owes you a huge debt of gratitude. We owe you that debt for many reasons, as the city you have dedicated your entire life to thus far, but not the least of which is for your time on city council. You presided over many trying times as a city councilman. When circumstances, citizens, staff, or your colleagues called on you or looked to you, you answered. You answered every challenge you were faced with boldly, unflinchingly, and resolutely, and almost always with a tremendous sense of humor, charm, and grace. Your bucket analogy notwithstanding, excuse me, yours is a presence and personality that can't be replaced. Also, your leadership in times of crisis and challenge are likewise irreplaceable. Nothing like being a law enforcement officer for something like 92 years to help with that leadership. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Councilman Matei. Thank you, Councilman Matei. On behalf of a grateful city council, a grateful city hall, and a grateful city attorney, we thank you. And Mayor, council members, I hope you can see this this is a picture of Councilman Matei wearing a Gronkowski jersey back in the days that he and I used to have an ongoing weekly Bronco bet that resulted in me having to fly his Bronco flags most weeks. But Councilman Matei, thank you for everything, and I hope you can hear me right now, but we appreciate your service, sir. Thank you for your service.
Anybody else on council? Anybody else on council have a comment? Let's see, Mr. Shu, any comments?
That summed it up pretty good, and I just wish Anthony the best of luck, and it was good working with you sometimes, and he was a little winded sometimes, but other than that, he was a pretty good guy.
Miss Grego.
You know, I've taken this very personal because Anthony and Lucille and our families have been friends forever. And I thought he'd be a diehard like the rest of us, die in Trinidad, but he's bugging out on us. But he was always a person that I felt comfortable going to, mentoring me, especially, you know, I'm sure Aaron and the two Aarons understand when you say the deer in the headlights syndrome when you first get on city council. It's like, Anthony, did I do this right? And he was always very patient with me. We got in trouble a couple of times. The mayor had to admonish us for giggling, but we were usually over fighting over CU versus CSU football, which I want to add is CU always took bigger applause on that one. CSU's kind of, but anyways, I'm not going into that. You don't know how much we're going to miss you, and Lucille and your family have been great contributors to this community. And like Mr. Downs said, you're not replaceable. And I really gratefully want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing what you did. Sometimes I didn't know whether I should start laughing when you start talking or hide under the dais, because it got real there a couple of times, let me tell you. But thank you, Anthony, so much.
Mr. Goodall.
I just want to wish Anthony and Lucille all the best in their new adventure up in Denver, closer to their kids. You will be missed, sir. I want to say thank you for being a mentor to me as well. I've always looked up to you and enjoyed your playful banter in council comments. Thank you, Anthony, and I'll miss you.
Miss Ogletree.
I wanted to say thank you for, like Ms. Griego said, the mentoring and the welcome. And I encourage you to write down all your stories so that they're not lost, and we will certainly miss them.
Yeah.
Mr. Williamson.
Anthony, I would just like to give you my personal thank you as well. In this short tenure that I was able to spend with you, I definitely learned a lot, and I appreciate it, and I'll definitely keep your contact in my phone. I hope it's okay to reach out to you. I wish you and your family the best of luck in Denver, and hope you enjoy the next chapter of your life there.
Mr. Valentine, do you have any final thoughts for Mr. Matei?
I appreciate that, Mayor. I do. Anthony has been lifelong resident, a lifelong friend, so appreciate everything he's done for the community, and more importantly, what he's done for me and the family. Kids grew up together, and we'll miss him, but you know, Trinidad has a way of not letting go, so we'll be talking.
Audra, do you have anything you want to tell Mr. Matei?
Council meetings will be much quieter. Much shorter. For it. We love you and we will miss you. Good luck to you and your family.
Anthony, Mr. Matei, You and I have known each other since we went to school together at Primero. Been a lifelong friend, and played many sports together, basketball, baseball, football. Enjoyed that time together with you. It's amazing what life does. That now we had become a few years back, almost 5 years ago, colleagues for the City Council of the City of Trinidad, where we took on a bigger endeavor to try to guide our community to a better day, which I believe you have played a great part in that. I'm proud to say that you are a terrific colleague, a good friend, and will always remain friends. Thank God that you never stopped me on the highway when you were a patrolman to give me a ticket. Otherwise, we may not be friends. But nevertheless, I want to wish you and Lucille all the best. I know you're moving to the concrete. Well, I don't know, whatever they call it up in Denver, but
Jungle.
the concrete jungle, exactly. I know you like that type of life, it sounds like, and I wish you well. And you'll be close to your family. Good luck to you, and stay in touch.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Okay, but hey, thank you. I have sporadic contact. I got most of what everyone said, and thank you so very much. Lucille and I are very appreciative, and I will always treasure my time with you. And Andrea, the meetings will be shorter and all that, but they're going to be so long, so very long. Oh, we lost him on that?
I think we did.
I think we lost.
Okay, I'm back.
All right. All right, go ahead, Ed.
I'm done. Thank you very much, guys. I love all of you.
All right, you take care now.
Thank you.
Safe travels, buddy.
Thank you.
With all that, he will be missed here on City Council. Call a vote, please.
Sorry about that. Had to plug in my laptop. It was flashing at me. Yes.
Griego? I'm still been mad at him, but yes. Ogletree?
Yes.
Chu?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. On to item G, declare a City Council vacancy due to the resignation of Councilman Anthony Matei. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion on that? The only thing I wanted to say is that at the next work session, council will discuss how we will move forward to fill the position. Audra, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't, Mayor. You'll have it actually is wide open. You just need to fill the position within 45 days, or else it will force it to an election. So,
Okay.
we'll talk about it at the next session.
Any questions from council? Call a vote, please.
Goodall?
Yes.
Griego? Yes. Ogletree?
Yes.
Chu?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. On to item 9, council reports. Mr. Shu.
No, I have nothing at this time. I want to bring up some stuff at the work session, but I'll talk then.
Okay. Ms. Grego.
I attended my first meeting with the Fisher's Peak, one of the Fisher's Peak work groups, and I'll tell you guys, it was really very encouraging, I guess was the word, because I was on a Zoom meeting with 14 very professional individuals. The let me tell you what was the groups that were represented there were the Colorado Parks and Wildlife, the Trust for Public Lands, the Nature Conservancy, GoCo. They have consultants for the advertisement of the usage of Fisher's Peak, and it was really interesting because all of them, they're younger individuals, so they know how to do techno stuff a lot better than we do. I do. I don't know about you guys, me. But anyway, behind every one of their profile pictures was a different version of the Fisher's Peak. And it was so gratifying to see people that are outside the community that are interested in that peak. They almost love it as much as we do, and they've just started working on it. So even though we can't see anything physically going on the peak, there is definitely a lot of background work, and that's good. COVID's gonna delay us for sure, but there's so much work to do before the first shovel or the first trails made up there, and the professionals they have in charge of that is simply amazing. Just thank you, Mayor, for suggesting that I attend that group. It's very, very interesting. Other than that, I don't have anything.
And Mr. Goodall, I'll call on you next, but you're on the next meeting coming up in June. You probably saw that. That's our group. So anyway, what do you have to report?
I have nothing.
Okay. Ms. Ogletree.
I got an email from an organization called Total Concept, and it's an organization based out of Crowley, Bent, and I forget the other county, a tri-county organization, and they work on small, affordable housing projects, and they're interested in coming to Trinidad, and they're going to have a listening session next Tuesday. So I'm the only city council member who got it. I believe Wally Wallace also got it, but I'm always interested in learning about those kinds of things, so I'm planning to attend. I wanted to know if anybody else was interested in that.
Would anybody else be interested in listening? We'll keep it to 2 people.
I would definitely be interested.
Okay, why don't contact them, okay?
Sure, thanks.
Okay, anything else? And then give us an update once you find out next meeting, okay?
Okay.
Let's see, Mr. Williamson.
I'm attending a meeting with Councilwoman Ogletree next weekend.
Okay. Well, that was short.
He's a quick learner.
Yeah, he is. Got a few things here. One thing, of course, we discussed the variance issue that went on today. That's okay. But one thing I wanted to mention that we need to bring up, and I talked to Mike about this a little over a week ago, at some point in the near future, we're going to have a work session on begin to plan on recovery. What does that look like to all of us, so that we can begin to plan to how do we get this community back to some resemblance of what it was before, anything different. So keep that in the back of your mind, and we'll bring that to a work session. Just want to also that from the tourism board side, the tourism, of course, they weren't getting funded anyway, but they are going to allow us to continue moving because even though that we're not being funded by them, but they did get a letter from the tourism board from Denver. And I also attended a meeting with Action 22 last week, and the main topic was the Gallagher Amendment. And for your information, I would recommend, if you're not sure what the Gallagher Amendment is about, just look up Gallagher Amendment, and it will, you can get all the information that you need about that. Anyway, there is going to be, I believe, on the ballot this fall to do away with Gallagher. It does make sense. So rather than sit here and try to explain it to you, I would recommend to council to inform yourselves by going under Gallagher Amendment and finding the information necessary. Also, the Department of Natural Resources Partnership Program. I had mentioned a while back that we had been recommended as a partner of the year amongst the other 4 partners for the Fisher's Peak project. Last week, they asked me to do an acceptance, which we did here, and I think Mike was going to put it in the newspaper as well. And there's a plaque, and if you guys could see, we're going to hang it up in the lobby downstairs. It's kind of a pretty cool plaque that we received. So, I want to thank council for being able to have the vision to say yes to moving forward with Fisher's Peak, because that is going to be one project I think that will help us in our recovery going forward. Also was on a call with DCI, which is Downtown Colorado Incorporated, about how to open up sidewalks we discussed this earlier, which is the variance. What other communities are doing for sidewalk sales for restaurants, using streets, parking lots, that type of thing. So that was the major topic there. On the Southwest Chief Amtrak side, a bill grant has been submitted as of yesterday. We received a CRISI grant. CRISI stands for Consolidated Rail Infrastructure and Safety Improvements Program. And I believe that figure was for $400,000, and that was for a study for the through car coming from La Junta into Colorado, into Pueblo and Colorado Springs and back through. And I believe they're looking at possibly studying 2 different services a day. So that would be something that we received. See if there's anything else. On that, the Federal Railroad Authority, they had made available $311 million of grants available on 313. So that's where that CRISI grant, I think, came through. So I just want to let you guys know that things are still moving with the passenger rail for I-25 services, and to keep it going in the area. Mike, what do you have to report?
Thank you, Mayor. I sent out an email regarding the governor's executive order or direction to the committees, the legislative committees, regarding $1.674 billion in federal funds from the CARES Act, and in that bill there's $275 million that is for municipalities, local governments that did not receive any direct distribution. There was no direction on how or what are the requirements to receive this funding, so staff is staying on top of that, and we will be working through what I believe is Department of Local Affairs to see how that money gets dispersed, and I'll keep council informed on that. Just a brief update on the water main project on Santa Fe Trail. I don't know if you noticed today that they closed Santa Fe Trail for a bit to do some cutting of the asphalt. They had not planned to do a full street closure there for this activity, but because of where it was at in the traffic, for safety reasons, they closed it down. It is open today and will be, but the project will probably move into Santa Fe Trail, where there will be detours in place. I just want to let everybody know we'll get a press release out where Santa Fe Trail will be closed for a week, 10 days, while they install the water main in the section there. So there will be detours, and progress is tough, but we'll get through it, and we'll have a new water main. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Mr. Downs, what do you have to report?
Mayor, council members, thank you. The first thing I want to say is I want to emphasize, I know that this has been touched on previously, but I want to emphasize that next week's work session is going to be on Tuesday, since Monday is a holiday. I want to say also along those lines that as we have talked about, we will be discussing the procedure for filling the council vacancy. I don't mean to talk about that so quickly after Councilman McKay is resigned, but we will have suggested procedures for you, and in procedures that we have utilized in the past when there has been a vacancy on council. Also, at that work session next Tuesday, we will be talking about the Fox Theater agreement. We hope to have a draft of that to you by week's end, hopefully no later than Friday, and we will be sending that to you as soon as we have that agreement. Mayor, one thing I wanted to ask you, and that is, in a previous conversation on the variance, did you instruct staff to consider what liquor provisions can be waived? Did I hear you correctly?
No, I didn't instruct. I just to check into it and see, because I know that I've listened to the governor a couple of times, and he said that they're waiving some of the things that they normally have to go through, just maybe to check into to see what they are.
Okay.
That was it.
And I was going to say, in terms of those provisions, we're here to, of course, inform the liquor code, and if there's anything that people have specific questions on regarding what can be relaxed or what can be kind of possibly modified during, this pandemic time, we're happy to look at it, and if it's the consensus of council, we can maybe add to the variance request and do that kind of thing. But that is all I have. Any questions on what I've talked about, council members? Okay, and I just want to conclude with saying that it is Kimberly's birthday today. So, Kimberly, thank you for sharing your birthday with us.
We should sing happy birthday.
Let's do.
Go ahead.
Okay. Everybody unmute.
All right.
Okay, are we all unmuted?
Yep. Let's go for it. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Kimberly. Happy birthday to you. Okay, with that, we'll call for adjournment. Motion to adjourn, please. Second. Call the vote, please.
Goodall?
Yes.
Griego? Yes. Ogletree?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Williamson?
Yes.
Rico?
Yes. Good night, everyone, and have a good week.
Good night.
Good meeting. Well, the COVID isn't affecting the car business here.
Oh, really?
There's selling a lot of cars.
Are they really? I was kind of wondering about that. I know I haven't talked to Jay recently. I need to give him a call. I call him periodically, but I hadn't called him lately, and I was going to ask him. So is Lisa's back on board, or is she still? Is she?
Yeah, thank God.
I was wondering how.
They moved Paula to finance,
Well, they did.
and because the guy's leaving, and they moved Joe Camarillo back to used car manager. Because Paula wasn't. I mean, Joe's good at it. Paula says it's like drinking out of a fire hose. It's a whole new thing. It's like, she'll get it now. I'm just amazed though to hear. She said yesterday they sold 5 cars. I mean, that's a
Really?
lot for them. I was like, wow.
Wow, that is.
Oh, this is still going. Oops.